Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here today on our first Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. Always appreciate you joining me for the weekend edition of the show, where we're answering your questions, our community's questions, each and every weekend, 6 today and 6 tomorrow, on all things health, wellness, weight loss, weight gain, anti-aging, IHP world, and so much more. All right, so let's dive into the show because, again, I love to get right to your questions. I know that's why you are here. I do enough rants during the week. I'm going to pass on starting the show with one as well. But again, thanks so much for joining me. Here we go. First question is from Alison. Alison says, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thanks for what you do. I appreciate the effort you put into these podcasts. Here are my questions. Does anyone ever need to complete consecutive detoxes, like 2 rounds of the CBO, to fully recover? I've heard some detox experts claim that it takes 2 years to fully and safely detox heavy metals. I saw that your heavy metal detox program is around 6 weeks long. I'm not really sure what my question is, but is the 2-year program a fraud? Or can you explain why the time frame is so large between detox programs? Thanks again." All right, yeah, happy to help. So 2 years is such an arbitrary time. Like, that's completely random. Completely random. It really depends on the level of toxicity within the individual. Think about this just for a moment. And I think that this will make sense once I say it. So I used to teach sailing back in the day. I loved to sail. I just worked at a community boat club. Nothing crazy, but it was amazing. I loved it. And let's say that a boat tips over. We used to sail these N10 duplins. They were called tubs. They were called tubs for a reason. They were basically like a big bathtub that you could teach basically anyone to sail on with a single sail. So if they tipped over, though, as an instructor especially, we had to right the boat. And it was filled with water. And it would take literally a half hour to 40 minutes to bail out. Okay. Well, so that was worst case scenario. A lot of water to bail out. Took a long time. Now, there's one thing called, well, I won't go too deep into it, but when your boat is not on an even keel and it starts to tip a little bit, you can take on a little bit of water. And if you take on a little bit of water, it's still not ideal, but you can keep sailing the boat. And when you get back to the dock, instead of spending 40 minutes to bail out the whole boat, it might take you 5 minutes, right? So it's the level, in this case, of water that you took on, or in other cases, the level of toxicity. So we see many people in our practice with Candida, with bacterial overgrowth, with H. pylori, with parasites. That doesn't take more than 12 weeks to remove. Because I can show you before and after lab test results, right? Like, absolutely doesn't. Now, does 1 out of 500 people have to complete maybe a second round? Maybe, right? Maybe 1 out of like 500, right? Or 1,000, but not regularly. Heavy metal detox, 6 weeks is efficient and sufficient for people if they're doing it once a year. Should be enough. But what if you have really high levels? Okay, you might need a second round, but you don't need 2 years of it. I wouldn't recommend taking 2 years of cracked cell chlorella and cilantro at higher dosages, right? I don't think that that's necessary. You don't need 2 years of biofilm disruptors, right? You don't need that. And if you have lead poisoning, you'd be dead in 2 years, or have massive neurological problems. So how long does it take to detox lead? Not more than 6 weeks. I mean, it really doesn't. Now, can you still have a little left in your system? Yes. So should you still do things like a heavy metal detox, functional medicine detox quarterly, those types of things? Yes. So again, the problem with online is that everybody gives these all-for-one answers. Nothing's nuanced. And everybody literally puts it out there as like, it is the truth. Be careful of people's truths. That's all I have to say. All right. Richard's up next. "Hello, Dr. Cabral. Hope your day is going well." I hope your day's going well as well, Richard. "I just want to know if using a Q-tip to clean your ears is a healthy habit. I do this every time I take a shower. Some say it's good and others say it's not good because our ears don't need to be cleaned since our earwax serves a purpose. Plus, when using a Q-tip, you can push the earwax further in and potentially damage your eardrum. Do our ears need to be cleaned regularly? If so, how? Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Always thanks very much and have a good one. By the way, I tried searching for this and other topics in your podcast page, but for some reason it brings up thousands of podcasts, even though the most of them don't talk about the topic. Last time I tried this, I tried clearing my cache. Okay, got it. So here's the thing. If you just type in Q-tip, probably thousands won't show up. So let's check it out. But if you type in the word the, well, you're going to get a whole lot of podcasts, right? Or cleaning, you'll probably get a lot of podcasts. So let's go to stevencabral.com/podcasts, and let's just see if Rich is right, because you might be. But I have a feeling you typed in too many words for your search term. So let's just type in Q-tip. All right, if I type in Q-tip, there's 0 that come up. Let's type it in without the hyphen, still 0. Okay, so no shows with the word Q-tip in there. Again, keep your search precise, okay? So let's give you your answer, and now we'll have a podcast on Q-tips. So this is what you need to know. The old saying was nothing smaller than your elbow in your ear. So basically it meant like, don't put anything in your ears. Now, here's the danger. The danger is when you use a Q-tip, you could push the wax further into your ear. When you do that, it will affect your hearing, drainage from the ear, because believe it or not, the ear does drain. And if you go too far in with the Q-tip, you could actually puncture or damage the eardrum. That's worst case scenario. Okay, so those are the two main reasons. Now, there is nothing wrong, though, with cleaning the actual air before you get into the canal of the air. So there really is no harm at all with using a Q-tip to dry your ear. What you don't want to do is jam it into your ear canal and push the wax deeper inside, or potentially hit your eardrum. If you don't do that, there's really nothing wrong with it. Now, earwax does serve a purpose, okay? You don't need a whole lot of earwax, though you just need a little bit. And your ear canal actually goes pretty far in, and you're not Q-tipping the whole thing in there. That's for sure, or you shouldn't be. So it serves actually to catch dust and other things from the environment and not allow it to actually get down deeper into the eardrum. All right, so just be careful. Don't go too deep. And you should be overall safe. Again, I have to give my quote. I cannot provide you any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis here on the show. All right, Jessica's up next. Hi, does your Candida gut protocol help with vaginal Candida also? And the answer is yes. So a lot of shows on yeast infections, vaginal yeast infections, a lot of shows on bacterial vaginosis as well, and how the CBO protocol can help with that too at an underlying root cause-based level. And for the most part, the reason is that a woman's vagina actually shares a lot of the same bacteria and yeast as what is in the intestines. If we can rebalance the intestines, we can also rebalance the vaginal flora as well. The flora is basically another term for bacteria. So if you look up on the podcast, bacterial vaginosis or yeast infection, again, you would just type in yeast infection or BV or bacterial vaginosis. You'll learn to do what to do essentially topically as well as internally. So we like to work from both perspectives. So you want to improve the gut, right? But you also can use things such as certain vaginal suppositories to help rebalance that flora as well. Now, we'll just keep coming back if you don't change the actual intestinal flora, but at least it's a good start, okay? So, Jessica, hopefully that was helpful. Lindsay's up next. Hello, Dr. Cabral. I always thank you for your time and knowledge. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on necrobiosis, lipoidica. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly, but sounds all right to me. And if you have any tips to make changes as to the root cause, it seems to be related to granulomatous and lipodermatosclerosis. How's that for pronunciation there? If those are interrelated, any ideas on to heal the damage done by these? Yeah, I mean, absolutely happy to help on these as well. Not with pronunciation, of course, but to what I actually do in the real world. So I've talked about this actually before. So you're looking at a thickening, right? So the issue is that there's an overall degeneration in the body of specific joint-based issues. So we're talking about like collagen-based fibers, as well as initial fat deposits or greater amount of fat deposits. So what we look at is a couple things, internal and external. So one, I don't know where exactly this is happening specifically for you, but it can actually happen from something happening outside the body in terms of a trauma, accident, etc. The other part is actually from an inflammation and autoimmune-based process. So let me tell you, instead of us guessing, because there's lots of different ways in which this could occur, you can look for similar root causes. What would those root causes be? Well, again, we need to look at what are the things that are causing inflammation in your body. 100%, like that's what we do. So we actually look at, are there autoimmune processes going in your body? And if so, what might be causing those? The number one lab that we run for that, actually, it's called the starter kit. So we look at heavy metals, okay? We look at stress levels on that, but we also look at gut function and detox. So one's the minerals and metals test. The other is the Candida metabolic and vitamins test. Combined, they give you all of that information, vitamin levels, mineral levels, heavy metals, gut function, detox function, and much more. If you can run the big five, you always want to run the big five because you can look at omega-6s, which are more inflammatory, to omega-3s that absolutely have a part in autoimmune issues and inflammation as well. But at the same time, if you wanted a less expensive route, you would definitely run the starter-based kit. And so again, we've seen this many times, and I can't say there's one exact root cause, but if we look towards what filled up your rain barrel, surely we can help you empty that rain barrel as well. And again, you don't have to just work with us. You can run with work with an integrative health practitioner, level 2 if you want to run labs, level 1 if you want to go through lifestyle-based protocols. And you can also find a local naturopathic doctor that may specialize in these types of inflammatory-based conditions as well. All right. Thank you, Lindsay, for writing in. Dana's up next. Hello, my daughter has my Boston accent coming out right there. Hello, my daughter and I have vitiligo. My father has it too, but very little, and it seems like it's almost disappeared through the years. Is there any cause of it, and it's hereditary and can't be fixed? That's what conventional medicine doctors say. What is your take on the issue? Thanks so much. Enjoying the podcast a lot. All right. Well, vitiligo I've talked about so many times in the podcast, so many times. So the reason why I say that is that if you go to stevencabral.com/podcast and you just type in the one word vitiligo, you will find about a half dozen podcasts on vitiligo, and you wouldn't have had to wait the 12 weeks for an answer. So that's why I mention it. Go to stevencabral.com/podcast, type in your keyword. I'm guaranteeing you, I can't guarantee you anything, but 99 out of 100 times I've talked about it, because this is this is episode 2381, right? So we've talked about a lot of different things. All right. So I want you to do that. Head on over to stevencabral.com/podcast, type in vitiligo, and you will find those shows. So anybody who doesn't know what it is, basically it is let's call it a skin discoloration. So typically the pigment of the skin, no matter what color pigment of the skin that you may have, it starts to get lighter. You get basically light patches on the skin. And it can affect anybody. It really can. So here's the thing. We've been, again, I can't provide any medical cures, diagnosis, treatment plans, et cetera, but we've been very successful helping people in the past with this. And again, we're not the only ones. But you absolutely have to look at gut-based issues, heavy metals, and other inflammatory factors in the body. You just have to. Like, that is the place to start. So, same thing I just recommended to Lindsay. You're running the starter kit, or ideally the big five. It can be overcome. One of the reasons why your dad may not have it as much is that the immune system actually starts to get a little bit weaker as we get older, and it may not be working in the same way, which then in this way you could say, oh, well, that's a good thing because it's causing less of a reaction. Maybe not, right? I would say, why don't we figure out what was causing the imbalance in the first place, fix that, and then we won't have it, but then also we'll be a healthier human being overall as well. So yes, it can be fixed. Please don't listen to just conventional medicine. You should absolutely listen to your medical doctor, but just not for chronic health-based issues, in my humble opinion. All right. One more question for the day, and it's from Michelle. Michelle says, hi, Dr. Cabral. You're the absolute best. I listen to you daily. Oh, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. I have a question about thrombosed hemorrhoids, and I cannot seem to find any information on, and my doctor has been no help whatsoever. I'm a 41-year-old female, 122 pounds, 3 vaginal births, have been on a mission to get my health where it needs to be after years of mystery symptoms. A year ago, randomly, I got thrombosed hemorrhoid after never having had hemorrhoids before in my life. The weirdest part was that it was not the result of any kind of bathroom straining. It literally just appeared one day and led me on a journey through the next 6 weeks. Even though it's not a cuss word, again, I like to keep this. I know we talk about adult topics, but I like to keep this family friendly. But I totally understand your frustration, Michelle, of course, and you can write that all you want. Okay, so I've been hemorrhoid free for a year, and the last week, lo and behold, another one appears with no straining. I've run my Cure mineral analysis test, Candida metabolic and vitamins test. I've been working with an IHP. I'm on week 4 of the CBO protocol. Been on a high fiber plant-based diet, tons of water, like the CBO subs, magnesium, and have added in some hemorrhoid support supplements from Amazon because I'm desperate. I'm at a loss for why I would be getting these. Is this a weak vein issue from having kids? Just hormones, getting older, living in absolute fear of a constant problem? Please help. All right, well, let's provide some help. Love that you've been diving in on your own, working with an IHP and running some labs and running some protocols, getting the bottom of it. So we want to look at this from a couple different ways. So a typical hemorrhoid would be the varicose veins, essentially right near the anus, the opening, of your anus, is going to be, they can get enlarged, and those veins are always there, but when they're enlarged, they're called hemorrhoids, okay? So hemorrhoids are always an inflammatory-based issue. Now, inflammation, though, isn't a root cause. So then we say, well, what's causing the inflammation? All right. So in my opinion, this is what I've seen. Viruses, infections, food sensitivities, yeast overgrowth, parasites, and heavy metals. Now, I would put Lyme and the virus, if you know what I'm talking about, in there as well, but that's all under infections and virus as well. So this is what we need to do. Yours came back after basically not being there for a year. So what we need to do is play detective in natural health. We need to say, okay, you wrote this in on May 5th. All right. So it came over the last, a couple weeks or so? I don't exactly know. But what changed in your life the 2 or 3 weeks preceding you getting that hemorrhoid again? Was there a change in any type of food or toxin, like a new type of toothpaste, a new type of detergent, a new type of toilet paper? Like literally all those things can matter. I mean, they really can. Excuse me. I'll grab a little water here. And I want to be cognizant of that. A new type of supplement, anything. So let's look at that. Even adding something like healthy, like a mushroom tea or whatever, just look at that, as that could cause a little inflammation for you. Could be an irritant. So that's what I would look at. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get you on your CBO is great. So you're doing that phenomenal. We're going to do the healthy gut support to seal up that gut. We're going to be doing some good quality probiotics because your gut flora could have become imbalanced, your good healthy bacteria. And then what we're going to do most likely, because you're working with your IHP, is look at the anti-inflammatory aspect of this. We might be adding some ginger tea. We might use the Inflammasoothe by Equalife. And we also, again, check out my other podcast on hemorrhoids, because I've talked about doing a little bit of aloe vera. That's important to look at too. And you might even use a little apple cider vinegar first as a toner, which can help to shrink the hemorrhoids, and then a little aloe vera, which is cooled in your fridge afterwards. That can be very helpful to do twice a day. Some people use coconut oil instead of the aloe vera. You could try that. The thrombose part's a little bit different because blood clots is a whole different dimension. And that's why you want to figure out, well, why are you getting blood clots? Did you do anything over the past month or so that could have caused blood clots? Start to look at that as well, all right? There's always an underlying root cause. You don't need to live with this forever. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we've helped so many people with hemorrhoids. Keep looking. You will find it, no doubt about it. Right back in if you have additional follow-up questions, all right? Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning into today's show. I appreciate you. I love this community. I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. Take care. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.